So there's an expression and there's a saying that I've heard all my entire life. It's from South Park Bigger, Longer, Uncut. And that expression is, hey, I've seen Avatar The Way of Water. Who wants to effing touch me? What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of the new Avatar film, Avatar The Way of Water. This film is once again directed by James Cameron. Okay, so as I always say, this will be a non-spoiler review. It is a 3-hour and 16-minute movie, so just be aware of that. But yeah, it's a long movie. So with that said, Avatar The Way of Water is a sequel to the mega hit that was Avatar that came out in 2009. This, of course, is 13 years later, and James Cameron has brought us back to the world of Pandora, where we are introduced to the family of Sully, which, of course, is Jake Sully's family, of Neytiri, his 3 kids, another kid that is an adopted kid, and they're living happily in Pandora until the antagonists pop up, and they cause all kinds of chaos, which puts the family of Jake Sully into question, into danger and all that good stuff. And then of course it brings in new characters played by Cliff Curtis and of course Kate Winslett, who are part of this like ocean tribe, this new world that they represent in the world of Pandora, which is the water world, the new world, the new escape to this world that is Pandora. So as we're aware, we've been waiting for this movie for a long time, 13 years, like I said. It's a movie that made a lot of money. The original, it made so much money that when they released it, it's almost at $3 billion. So the fact that James Cameron is doing a sequel or 4 other sequels is not really that surprising. The fact that this film has gone through many iterations, a pandemic, people have raised kids at this point, people have had kids at this point. Cameron's now like 70, almost 70 years old at this point. It's pretty impressive that he finally made this movie come out and that we're finally able to see it now that it's premiered. But going in that this movie is probably going to be pretty stunning, that it's probably going to be a very epic story. Like I said, it's 196 minutes long. But is the movie good? Is it worth watching? Is it worth revisiting the world of Pandora? Well, that is a double-edged sword, a two-pronged sword type of instance. I'll get the bad stuff out of the way. This story, once again, like the original movie, is very unfocused, very James Cameron, has a lot of moving pieces, goes to a lot of moving places, and is just very long and very tedious. And just there's points where this movie just forgets people for long periods of time, like Stephen Lang's character, or forgets other characters for so long of time. It feels like a movie that is very bloated by its own nature. It feels like a movie that is very thrilling to watch but doesn't really have much substance on the surface. Every character is very one note. Characters that you want to hear more about and see more about are just not in the movie very much, and that's weird for a 3-hour 16-minute movie. I know it's supposed to focus on people like Jake Sully and his clan and his water clan and stuff like that, but if you're going to have villains in this movie, if you're going to have other characters in this movie, give them some substance, give them some drive, give them purpose. Don't make them feel like background characters that are just kind of pushing along the story, because that doesn't make for a good story. Yes, you can have your visual aspects all day long, but you still have to have interesting characters, and they are interesting. But I still think Sam Worthington is a very very blank slate. I think using Zoe Saldana is interesting, but she just really doesn't feel like she has much to do here outside of being the same character that she was in the original, which is fine. But then you bring in characters like, how do you explain Sigourney Weaver being in this movie? How do you explain Stephen Lang in this movie? And their explanations make the story feel very predictable. It makes it feel very like by the book. It actually goes beat by beat with some of the storylines from the original movie, and it's a little problematic. It feels like people have been saying, a little like The Force Awakens in a lot of ways. And I hate to say it, if you're going to make a movie like that, I'm sorry, James Cameron, but you got to do a little bit better than that. I mean, it's been 13 years. Your story, you bring in the writers of, some of the Planet of the Apes movies. I think it was Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver, I think is their names. And you just regurgitate some of the same beats. It's really problematic. But I guess in the end, you really kind of guess that you don't really go for the story. You go for the visual effects and the visual flair, the visual kind of fidelity, which James Cameron has always been known for. And it's no different here. Everything is gorgeous. The water is absolutely breathtaking when they are in the water, because if you're not aware, like the characters in this movie, the actors and actresses, actually learned how to like be underwater for up to like 7 minutes at a time. And it really gives it a very lifelike quality when they're under the water, when they're swimming, when they're moving around. It's very kind of mind blowing, to be fairly honest. I talked about this in a video when they showed a small clip with the whale and the young boy, but it really shows. It really shows that James Cameron, his visual sense is like no other person out there. You know, you can say Peter Jackson or you can say Steven Spielberg, but I think James Cameron is just on a whole different level when he thinks about how to shoot things, what characters to use, what kind of machines and construction, how does this world operate. He knows. He's like George Lucas in a lot of ways, where he has every piece of detail down to the minuscule little plant in the sea or to the little fish, how he's able to justify doing this world and make it feel so compelling and so like amazing and just it's so earth-shattering, just gorgeous. I mean, like I said earlier, you just when this stuff focuses on the water stuff and when it focuses on the forest people and the water people working together, and you just see the gorgeous nature of, like, for instance, you'll see one of the Navi underwater and just how like blue and clear, just how realistic it looks, but it also has just an earthly feel to it. It's just, there's nothing like it in the world. You know, James Cameron is a one-of-a-kind wonderkind when it comes to visual technology, and it shows. It's shown in every single film he's ever done, and it's no different here. But on that aspect, I do have to make complaints about the HDR stuff, the high frame rate stuff. I have to make complaints about, you know, some of the CGI is very video game-like. Some of the HDR8, the high frame rate stuff, it would have been fine if it was like the whole movie, but there are points where it'll cut from high frame rate to 24 frames a second. High frame rate's like 48 frames above. That means how quickly the movie's moving. But here, like, there'll be some shots in the same shot where it'll be high frame rate, where it'll be like that really crisp motion, and then it'll go to 24 frames a second, which I don't know if that's a projector problem or James Cameron made that decision, but it is very jarring. It is very unfocused with that aspect. It'd been nice if he just focused on one frame rate aspect ratio, or one, you know, frame, 24 frames or 48 frames instead of going back and forth. It almost feels like he didn't know what he wanted when it came to that. It really shows, but it is really compelling to watch. It is really interesting to watch when it is a 48 frames a second or whatever the high frame rate is, because some of it just looks, you know, especially when they're in the water or they're flying in the air, it's absolutely mind blowing. That's what I have to give it credit for, is just outside of those high frame rate problems and the HDR problems and stuff like that, just the nature of just the world, just the nature of Pandora, going back to this world, going back to a different portion of this world, just everything about it, the just, like, you know, the camera work and the motion capture and just the follicles on the head and the little starlights and stuff like that, just the way the eyes don't look like they're uncanny valley, and just the way they move. This is a whole different level experience, but like I said, the story just suffers. So, but with that said, that is going to be kind of my non-spoiler take for Avatar: The Way of Water. It is definitely an experience. There's nothing like it outside of the original Avatar. It definitely has a very gorgeous atmosphere. It definitely works on a whole different level than any movie you'll ever watch. It's just the story sucks. That's just how I have to put it. I didn't like the story at all. I felt it was unfocused. I felt when it gets very unfocused, it just doesn't make any sense. And yeah, in the end, it is an Avatar movie, so you know what you're getting yourself into. So, but like I said, that will be my non-spoiler take for Avatar: The Way of Water, the new James Cameron film premiering that will make a boatload of money. Thank you so much for watching. In comments below, let me know what you think of this movie overall, because you're definitely probably going to see it. It's a long movie, so I definitely understand if you think that as well. But anyways, if you like what you see on this video, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell. Top the files coming next. If you like the video, awesome. Hit that like button, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.